people need to file a class action lawsuit against Bethesda. Now, for the two of you who are living under a rock, what recently went down is this. Doom Eternal was released less than a month ago to incredibly good reviews. I personally have not bought Doom Eternal since first-person shooters are not my thing, but if you enjoy first-person shooters, more power to you. However, just slightly over half a month after release, Bethesda has slipped in some software designed to prevent cheating in multiplayer called Denovo AntiCheat. Now, I also don't do multiplayer in any genre, so I, once again, have never heard of Denovo until now. However, one thing I've heard about this software is that it A, has administrator privileges to your computer, basically giving it the ability to do anything it wants, and B, has backdoors that are so easily accessible by cyber criminals that these backdoors might as well be left wide open with big neon arrows pointing to the back doors. In short, if you're going to install this software on your computer, you might as well just be posting your credit card and social security numbers on Facebook for all the world to see. Now, if any of that's true, and I'm gonna take your word for it since, again, I don't have any personal experience with any of this, then the customers absolutely had the right to be forewarned about this software being part of the game before they dropped the money for it. If Bethesda wasn't going to include this software at launch, they, at the very least, should have told the players that it was in fact coming. Kind of like in WWE 2K20, when the Create a Championship mode wasn't in the game at release, but 2K did assure us that it was going to be added by the end of the year, and it was added. In the case of Doom Eternal, Bethesda's failure to similarly disclose this to its customers until after they had already bought the game should constitute a blatant case of false advertising. The only way Bethesda could get out of false advertising in this case is if they were to plead that they only made the decision to implement Denovo at the last minute, after it was already too late to provide any disclosure. However, even now, evidence has surfaced that this is not the case. Somebody looked inside the game's source code. In the unpatched Day 1 version of the game, they were able to find code that was designed to work with Denovo AntiCheat. This was in the unpatched version of the game, people, before Denovo was actually in the game. So this definitely proves that Bethesda knew from day one that they were going to include Denovo. They can't claim that they simply changed their minds. So here we have a case of Bethesda knowing full well that the inclusion of this anti-cheat software, as opposed to anything else with fewer vulnerabilities, but the license of which would cost more, would have most likely caused loads of people to not buy the game if they knew about it, and then intentionally hold off on including the spyware, waiting just long enough for your Steam refund period to expire. And then the literal minute it was too late for you to recant your purchase, they slipped in this bullshit. Again, I did not purchase Doom Eternal, so I do not have Article 3 standing in this case. But anyone who did buy Doom Eternal should sue Bethesda in a class action lawsuit for selling them this game under false pretenses. Now, game companies like to hide behind EULAs to legally protect themselves, and Bethesda is no different. However, EULAs generally are not enforced by courts to the extent that they purport to exempt corporations from liability for intentional and malicious acts. Whenever you enter into any contract, even the most one-sided of adhesion contracts, there is a general implied understanding that the parties involved will exercise good faith when invoking the rights and privileges the contract gives them. Contracts that say that the corporation is not liable even for blatant, intentional false advertising is not generally enforceable by the courts. However, one thing you definitely want to be mindful of if you want to sue Bethesda is their arbitration and class action waiver sections of their terms of service. those probably are going to be enforced by the courts. And if you're forced into binding arbitration, that arbitrator is likely to be prejudiced in favor of Bethesda, since Bethesda is the one with all the bargaining power in the EULA, and therefore, if Bethesda doesn't like how the arbitrator is deciding the case, they can simply update their EULA to say that all future arbitrations will be held by a different arbitration firm, thereby taking their business elsewhere. You can't do that outside of arbitration. If the case goes to court, none of the parties get to just choose which judge they want deciding their case. So if the case goes to arbitration, you've basically already lost. However, ZeniMax actually gives you the option to opt out of arbitration if you so choose. However, if you want to go this route, you need to act immediately. The terms of service require you to send in your opt-out notice within 30 days after you agree to the purchase, and for Doom Eternal buyers, that time limit is already more than half expired. If you opt out of the arbitration clause, the terms of service do state that you automatically opt out of the class action waiver as well, so no need to do that separately. I have a small channel, so it is not likely that this message will reach very many people, but I still feel the need to put it out there. Maybe I'll reach out to a few of those big lawyer channels like Leonard French and ask them to also cover it. That would certainly increase the circulation of this message. In the meantime, however, I am Acerthorn, and I will see you guys later.